Good afternoon. Today we will be discussing how to submit for the reinsurance fee, also known as the reinsurance tax. My name is Ryan McArton. I work for Marsh & McLennan Agency, and I'm the Senior Advisor of Regulatory Affairs. Today we are going to discuss some background on the reinsurance fee, and then I'm going to jump into how you can actually file for the reinsurance fee process. I have gone through this process with one of our clients before, and this is the method that I used and some of the tips and hints that would have made the process a lot easier. Overall, the process took about 75 minutes, but I believe if you follow this guide, you could conceivably do the entire process in maybe 45 minutes. So to that end, we will discuss the reinsurance fee and why we're having to submit for a reinsurance fee. We'll just discuss a little bit about some of the information you'll need to gather together before starting the process. I'll discuss briefly how you calculate the covered lives that's used to calculate the amount of tax that you owe, and then jump into the actual process. The process itself requires access to two different websites, and the reason is because the government wants you to create a CSV file to submit to the government. And to do that, we have to be able to download the job aid that is housed under the regtap.info. So to get started, let's talk a little bit about the reinsurance fee and why we have this obligation. The reinsurance fee was originally a tax to help cover the cost of insurance carriers joining the exchange and having to offer coverage to their to a population of new subscribers who maybe they didn't know how sick they might be. And so to help defray those costs and get those carriers to offer coverage on the exchanges, as part of the healthcare reform law, they passed this reinsurance tax to basically subsidize the carriers who got a sicker amount of new subscribers on their plans in the initial opening of the exchanges. This tax is roughly a 3-year tax, and it does apply to fully insured and self-funded groups. It only applies against major medical, and you do count the covered lives under the plan. Most fully insured care groups will have this tax paid by the carriers. Self-funded plans ultimately have the liability to file for it, but they could use the TPA to transmit this tax if the TPA is willing to do it. The tax this year is going to be $63. It's estimated to go down to $44 next year in 2015, and conceivably be between $22 and $28 in 2016. Again, it should go away after the 2016 payment. There is the option to break the $63 into two different payments, one for $52.50 and the other for $10.50. However, a group could pay the entire amount at the same time. The deadline for registering your enrollment count is November 15th. It's fast approaching. And the government just recently released this final job aid, which is what we needed to be able to actually complete the tax submission process. In general, you're going to use enrollment data from January to September 2014, even the non-calendar year plans. The overall process for submitting the reinsurance tax is really a 4-step process. After you collect all your data and get your demographic and enrollment counts together, you're going to basically register on pay.gov and complete the contribution form, and then upload the supporting documentation, which is that job aid, that CSV file. And then finally, you'll enter the payment information, your bank account information, and the payment date, and submit that information, and you'll be done. And the process should be the same in the following years. So getting to the things you'll need, you will need to acquire the organization demographics, the legal business name, your tax ID number, the full billing address. Note that you can't use the post office box. You will need the billing contact information, and as well as the contact for whoever is submitting the process, the tax. That could be different individuals in the organization. The billing contact could be whoever is actually in charge of handling finances and can answer questions about ACH transfers. In terms of the enrollment counts, there are three methods in general: the actual method, the snapshot, and the Form 5500. So you'll have to pick one of those methods, and I'll get into some more detail on how you calculate using those methods. But generally, you'll have to use one of those methods to come up with your enrollment count, which will be used to calculate the amount of tax you owe. Then we'll need to have the supporting documentation, and this is the CSV file that we will create. It's fairly simple, but you want to have that done ahead of time. And then the authorizing official information, so it could be the CFO in your organization, but whoever would be authorizing the bank transfer ultimately, if that is not going to be yourself. And then most importantly, the bank information, routing and account numbers. They will not send you an invoice where you could pay by check. This is going to be ACH only. So once you get all this information together, you can start the process. And of course, I said we'd go over the calculating covered lives. I won't get into too many details about this process, but give a general overview. In general, as I mentioned, there's three different methods. There's the actual method, and that is where you just calculate the sum of lives covered for each day of the policy year, and then divide that sum by the number of days in the policy year. So you roughly take the sum of the lives and then divide by 365 days in the policy year. The snapshot method is where you would take the total number of lives covered on any particular date during the first, second, or third month of each quarter of the policy year, or an equal number of dates for each quarter, and divide the total by the number of dates on which account would. So you would be able to take January, April 1, July 1, whatever your enrollment counts were on each of those dates, and then divide by the quarters to get your enrollment count. The Form 5500 method, you'd add together the total number of participants covered at the beginning and end of the benefit year as reported on the Form 5500. All right, regtep.info access. Getting into this, the first step really is to create your account if you don't have one. Some of you may have had one if you've ever attended one of the CMS webinars on this topic. So if you haven't, though, you will need to go and register basic information just like any other login. This is where we're going to need to go to get that job aid that we'll use to make the CSV file. So once you get into this website, you'll see this library icon. You just click on that, and that will take you to this filter library section. If you do the drop down, you'll see the reinsurance contribution. That's the filter we want to use. And when you click on that, you will then see these documents pop up. The first one here should be the job aid. You want to download that to your computer, and that's all we would really need for this site in terms of getting the job aid. So once you have that, though, then you need to open it up and actually create the CSV file. The big thing with creating the CSV file is you want to be able to enable the content on it, which is on the yellow bar above, because it is a macro-enabled job aid. Once you get in here, you'll see a lot of different little areas to fill in. Really, you want to start with the top section here in blue. You'll just fill out the three sections about your company information. One thing of note, though, you will have to have a decision about what kind of payment you're going to make. Are you going to do split the payment of $63 into two different payments, or are you going to just pay it all at once? Whatever scenario, there's a little drop down, and for this, I did pick the combined collection. Once you get that done, you will need to enter in the total enrollment count in this green box. You won't need to worry about the records entered. That'll auto-populate later on. Once you have that done, you want to then fill in basically the first line here, and just follow it all the way across from left to right. It's your basic business demographic information. Don't fill in the green area. That'll be auto-populated. But one thing of note, when you get all the way over to the right side of the screen, you're going to get a question on entity type. It's not very well spelled out, but when you do the drop down, you're going to see all these options. SI stands for self-insured, and the SISA stands for self-insured and self-administered. So if you're using a TPA, which most self-insured groups are, you're going to pick the SI entity type. Once you have that done, you are going to go back over to the left side of the Excel job aid and validate the data. Once that comes back as clear, you would then click on Create the CSV file, and it'll ask you to save the document, save it to someplace you'll be able to pull it up easily when we get into the pay.gov. So that's basically how to do the regtep.info and the access and the getting that CSV file, which is necessary to submit the pay.gov tax. All right, submitting under pay.gov. So you go to the website pay.gov. If you've never been in this website before, which most people haven't, you would need to go up to the far right corner and register. The registration information is fairly straightforward, and there's nothing remarkable about this section. So register and then log back in. You'll see that once you log in, this is what your screen should look like, at least when you click on the My Account button. You'll come to this section. Really, you want to start with the profile information. I made the mistake of trying to enter the forms without having set up my profile information. It just means you didn't get to save all your progress, and you have to go back and fill in the profile information anyways. So click on the View Profile Information button and fill in the required information that's with the asterisk in red. Again, basic profile information, almost like just a regular login. Once you get that done, make sure at the bottom you check the boxes to receive email notifications so you can see what notifications are coming through, at least from an ACH standpoint. And once you're done with that, you're going to come back basically to the main screen, and you'll look for that search box in the top corner. You can search under ACA, you can search under reinsurance, but the reason is that's how you're going to get to this actual submission form process. It won't be apparent on the main screen, so again, you got to make sure you're searching for ACA. This should be the only item that pops up, really, or at least right on the top, and you just click on the form, and you'll come to another screen which asks you to click again, and you just click to continue to that form, and we get to your basic demographic information for the submitters for this process. So fill out your business information on the top, enter in your billing contact information and the billing address, again, not a P.O. box. And then you're going to have to fill out the 3 submission contacts. You can't get away with just putting in 1 or 2 of them. You'll see that it auto-populates from your profile. You as the first, whoever's entering your profile information will be the contact 1, and so that will auto-populate. Once you're done with that, you can hit continue. If you want to save your progress, you can save it, but it'll auto-save if you hit continue. And this is where you get to the point where you're going to calculate your tax. And so you will enter first what kind of payment are you going to do. You'll see that there's a first collection, a second collection, a combined, an invoice, and a resubmission. If you're going to pay it all at once, you do a combined collection. The only time you need an invoice is if you received an invoice from CMS because you didn't maybe submit this correctly the first time, or they found an error in the submission process. If you're going to split your payment, you pick the first collection the first time, and then we're going to actually have to go through this process for a second time to put in the payment information for the second collection. So again, if you're going to split your $63 between the $52.50 and the $10.50, the first payment you'd click first collection, and I'll talk a little bit more about this towards the end, just briefly about how to run through that split payment scenario. But once you do pick it, you just enter in the benefit year, 2014 in this case. Because I picked the combined collection that auto-populates the $63 contribution rate, I put in my gross annual enrollment count from one of those methods, the snapshot or the actual method, and it auto-calculates the tax that's owed. You then put in your authorizing official and information and check the boxes down here. You don't have to put the pay.gov tracking ID in at this stage, and you just then hit continue. When you hit continue, that'll get you to this upload screen where we have to go back into your computer and find that CSV file. Just click on the browse button and browse to the area where that file is, and then click attach. And then once you've attached it, you'll see it listed in here, and you can click next. And once you upload that document, then we just have to enter that payment information, and if you've done your combined collection, we're almost done. So enter in the payment date. You want to pay before January 15th, 2015. CMS is asking that you at least make the payment date 30 days after your filing date. So sometime 30 days after we do this process and before January 15th, 2015. So enter those dates, and then you can enter in the routing and account numbers and submit that information. You come to another screen where you have to review and submit that information. Make sure you click on you'd like to receive an email confirmation of this transaction. I think that'll I always like an electronic copy like that. And then you can agree to the authorization disclosure statements, submit it, and then you get your payment confirmation. It'll be emailed, and you can also print a receipt if you'd like. And that essentially sums up the process. Now, I mentioned that if you decided that you wanted to split your payments into two payments, you would have to come back through the process again. Most of the information will be saved, so it won't be that difficult. But go back to the home screen and click on My Forms. That will be this screen right here. You'll see My Forms, and when you click on that, you will get to this, and you'll be able to click on the duplicate, and when you go back through it, you will then be able to click on the second payment or second collection information, and that would be right here. Instead of clicking first collection, you click on the second collection. It'll automatically calculate the tax based off of the second collection, which is the 1050 rate. And then when you do your payment information, you'd be able to pick a date after 1/15/15. So you actually have until November 15th, 2015 to pay that second collection of 1050. A lot of groups maybe on a fiscal year would pick a different date before November 15th, 2015, but you do have until that date to pay the $10.50. And then you just continue with the process just like you did for the first collection payment. So that is essentially the reinsurance fee or reinsurance tax submission process in a nutshell. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope it helps you in this process. Thank you.